Almost live. No, we're live now. Welcome and good morning. I'm Abz of October Red, and I'm joined by the colourful, the wonderful, the traveller, the journalist, the man that is high up that journalistic ladder, the one, the only, the Gareth A. Davies. Welcome, Gareth. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Abz. October Red. Just got back from LA, trying to kick the jet lag all week. When I was over there, going to bed at 8 in the evening most of the time. And now I've got back here. Got back Sunday, slept all day, and then got up at about 1 in the morning. Can't go back to sleep. Probably saying, no, I don't look too bad in the old eyes, but maybe we'll leave the glasses off for a bit.
Leave the glasses off.
But it's
the pain shine through.
Exactly. It's been a long week, but a very rewarding week in Los Angeles. Just catching up with a lot of old friends and colleagues, people in the industry, and quite overwhelming, to be honest with you, the number of people I ran into or haven't seen for a long time. And I just revealed now the reason why you haven't seen me for a while is because I had a little accident and cut my.
Yeah, I remember we spoke about it last time.
And I was just staying away from the cameras for a while.
Yeah, but you're fully healed now, aren't you?
Oh, it looks fairly healed. I think the black eyes.
No more catapulting off the bike.
No more hitting, no more fighting with curbs in Cambridge.
Fighting with curbs in Cambridge. There's a book somewhere there. But listen, I've got to ask, Gareth, you've been to all of the Riyadh season cards now. What was the first one like in the US? Because obviously we've got the 21st of September upcoming. I'm really excited about that. It's in the UK. But what was it like in Los Angeles?
Well, it was iconic. It's always great going to Los Angeles and Las Vegas and New York for the big fight weeks. I mean, those triumvirate of places the three places are always amazing to go to. I thought they pulled out all the stops, the iconography of Santa Monica Pier, having a workout, and a small card as the sun sets, the sunsets on the ocean there. So that was fun. Hollywood for the press conference along the Hollywood Boulevard, Chinese theatre, kind of association with the Oscars and all of that. The LA Live downtown for the weigh-ins, very near the Staples Center. And then obviously this amazing football stadium just away from a few miles from downtown, which was just, I mean, given that there were only 23,000 people in there, it felt enormous the night. Huge stars came out to support it. The concert from Eminem, I know it might have dragged on TV a little bit. It did feel like that for a little while in the arena. But it was very special, the fireworks and the fighters to walk out, fireworks just behind the stadium. I thought they did a fantastic job. It was a great card. I think the only things that people will remember who were there was that given that it started at 1:30 in the afternoon, it was open air. It wasn't until about 5:30, 6 that we stopped roasting. So a lot of people stayed in the media center, or people didn't come till a little later because it was just too hot to be out there sitting the whole time in the sun. But I'm not going to complain about the heat. I thought the card delivered. I thought it was, you have to pinch yourself to think that's the first cards that Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia have done outside, put together and have done outside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I thought it was a riveting success. It seemed to invigorate American boxing, and everyone who was anyone was there.
Yeah. Did you get to speak to Mike Tyson? He's always somebody that I'm always going to have a look out for. I'd love to meet him. Did you get to speak to him at all?
I was due through Amir, his son, to have a word with him, but when Mike arrived, I mean, he's so popular.
Yeah,
he walked into his seat and then he walked out again. He was on the screen a few times. I was hoping to do an interview with him, but he didn't come in till the actual day. I think he was launching some product or company somewhere else till the day of the fight. In fact, I heard from Amir Tyson this morning, and hopefully I will get some time with Mike at some point in the next couple of days. But I didn't speak to him. It was great to have him there. He's a massive star. He's as big a star for us in that firmament as having Kate Beckinsale ringside, or Eminem, or Alicia Keys, or Scottie Pippen, or any of these guys, frankly.
Gareth,
He is boxing royalty.
I've got to ask you about Kate Beckinsale. Can you explain to me how she looks 20 years younger than she did when she was actually on Underworld? I don't know what her skincare regime is or whatever it is, but she looked like she was literally mid to late 20s. I saw her on screen several times. I'm a fan of her. She's a phenomenal actress. But my God, she's reversed in age. And I know there weren't any filters on because the camera's on some others, and I'd say they looked how they look.
Well, far be it from me to judge the age of the way a woman who's about 50 looks, but I think, I mean, she's extraordinarily beautiful, isn't she? And
Yeah,
they placed her strategically just behind Turki Al-Sheikh and Eddie Hearn.
right.
So she was constantly in shot.
Constantly.
I mean, I did think His Excellency was front, middle, and back all week. I mean, he's given his views very strongly on what he wants next. I know we haven't talked about the main event yet, but well, I'll wait for you to ask me about that. But I think I mean, the Saudi Arabians, Riyadh season, and particularly him, have pulled off an enormous coup with this event in America, and they're only gonna do more. He's told us. So I just think, you know, I asked Eddie Hearn at the post-fight press conference, "Do you genuinely think this is a golden age for boxing?" Because I do, and he concurs. I think we are about to go into a golden age. The fantasy fights that we want are going to be made, and maybe some aren't.
Gareth, I do want to talk to you about the fights on the cards. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We will try and go through some of the questions in there, but what we won't be doing is stirring up any trouble, because we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to keep it strictly about the event on Saturday. And
what do you mean trouble? In what sense?
I will be filtering out the comments. I think somebody's asking questions about things that aren't necessarily to do with the event, and I want to keep it strictly on the event. So the fight of the night for you, because the fight of the night for me, which is the one that I said would be, is Jared Anderson versus Martin Bakole. I knew that people were writing Martin Bakole off. Obviously I would, because I'm over this side of the water. But what were your thoughts on the card, and what was your go-to fight if you was going to watch any of them again?
Well, I do think the Terence Crawford Israel Madrimov was a masterclass in patience from both fighters.
Yeah,
it was really absorbing. I had it very close. I had them drawn at 105 each going into the last round. Terence winning the last round, and I had him 115, 114 winner. That's just how I see it. I thought it was a very close fight. It was a tremendous fight. As I say, they were both extraordinarily patient in their own ways, and they both stuck to their game plan. I wouldn't mind seeing that again. I think Canelo is a step too far for Crawford. I think I was advocating that fight initially, but I think going up to a 6th weight class above lightweight, I think is a step too far for Crawford. I think His Excellency has intimated that since the event, that they may not look at that fight now. I thought Martin Bakole was spectacular. He just looked like a modern day George Foreman, standing in front of his opponent, walking him down, making him fight and making him pay. I think Jared Anderson maybe got exposed a little bit at world level. Bakole's obviously #1 with the WBA now. He's got big fights ahead of him, and he's waited patiently. He's always been the dark horse of the division. He has been for a while. People have been avoiding him. He was there at that.
True now, isn't it, Gareth?
Yeah, he will get big fights. I mean, he's going to deliver. And I'm really pleased for he, and also for Billy Nelson, because they've shown a lot of faith in each other and they've done extraordinarily well together. But it's very tough times for American heavyweight scene.
Yes.
Because Deontay Wilder has faded, and now Jared Anderson has shown that he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to hang at world level.
The Madrimov Crawford fight, like I totally agree with you. I like to see, it's not necessarily always about knockouts when you get those kind of boxing performances from the fighters. I'm never good at scoring, so I'll just stick with I thought it was a close fight, and either
How
or.
did you score it?
I don't do scoring, because
Okay.
it's pointless because I always get it wrong and I'm not a judge. So I'll leave that to everybody else. But what I will say is that I do believe Madrimov, and I think he will be kicking himself. He should have started quicker, or he should have been more active. His movement was beautiful, but he wasn't throwing as much as he should have been. And that's just my opinion.
I asked him at the post-fight press conference if he thought he was too patient during it, and if he had it another time around, would he fight in a different way, or if they fought each other again? But unfortunately, because it needs translating by Vadim Kornilov into Russian, and obviously he's Uzbek, and I don't know if that's even his first language. I think it gets slightly lost in translation, but I'm sure when he looks back, because there was a lot of feinting and movement, and I think if he'd been his attacks, I mean, it was a very, very close fight. I mean, I thought he did extraordinarily well. I thought he really tested Crawford. Crawford said it wasn't his hardest fight, but I think
made him think, though, didn't it?
Technically, not physically, I think it was his hardest fight.
Yeah. What do you think about with Madrimov now? Because obviously he's lost his belt. What do you think he should do next, Gareth?
Well, he's got to go for another world title, or even do a rematch with Crawford.
Do you think there would be a rematch?
Well, if there's an appetite for it, I think people would rather see Crawford against Boots Ennis, or Crawford against Eubank, or Chris Eubank Jr., or Crawford against Canelo, if that fight happens. But I don't think it will now. I think even, as I say, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is kind of saying, I'm not sure. I'm kind of giving up the ghost on Crawford and Canelo. Because I think the fight people want to see with Canelo is David Benavidez, Frank, even though he's facing Edgar Berlanga on September the 14th, rather, in Las Vegas, on the same night that Riyadh Season is backing an event in the same city, in the Sphere, the Noche UFC event. So are we getting a bit congested? No. Is it a good time for us? Yes. Crawford, is he one of the modern greats? I think so, without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, he definitely is. But you've mentioned 175. You've mentioned Benavidez. I've got to touch on David Morrell Jr., a fighter that I was, I still am. I can't say was. I still am excited about. He made his debut against Hot Rod. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I'll leave that to you. But I'd say it was an anticlimactical and disappointing performance. And listening to the corner as I was, because I was watching it from home, his corner was telling him to do things, and he wasn't actually listening to what his corner was telling him to do. And this is an out there comment, and I'll accept all the stick that everyone wants to give me, but I really fancy Ben Whittaker against him.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Morrell was very laboured in the performance against Hot Rod. Very laboured.
Beautiful word to describe it.
Yeah, but he couldn't get going. But that's down to Radovic of Hot Rod's kind of ambition in the ring in this fight. It was very, very warm still in the day at that point as well. Yeah, like you say, I think it was it Morrell's first fight at 175?
At 175, yeah, it was his debut.
I don't know why he wanted to leave the division. He's a big guy, though. I was disappointed by it. I'll go along with that. Ben Whittaker, probably not ready for him yet. But I like the way you're thinking. It's a good matchup. But as you know, and I've said this to you, my only thing about Ben, I want to see a bit more power. I want to see a little bit more power from him in close quarters and him planting his feet a little bit more. But I'm sure that will come.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with Ben. That will come. We've seen, the power with Morrell Jr. We know what he's capable of doing. But when we look at it, and I always think, and this is kind of like what happened with Bacoli and Anderson, boxing wins. Power is beautiful, but I think it can only take you so far before the skill starts to overtake that power. And that's why I do fancy Ben in that, a bit out there, but it's just my opinion. But Miller and Ruiz, I thought Miller won. I don't know what the hell was going on there. I do appreciate Andy Ruiz had a broken hand. That's fine, but that doesn't determine a draw. I really thought Miller won. He was more aggressive. He was coming forward. He seemed to be throwing the more. He was like murdering him to the body at several points throughout all of the rounds. What happened there, Gareth?
Well, in the collision of the two big sofas, as they call them.
Sofas.
Well, they're like sofas. They're so big, aren't they? The pair of them. I mean, and you know, I've known both for a long time. I'll go back years and years with Gerald Miller. He's one of my favourite people in fight sports, by the way. I know he's transgressed. I know he's seen as a villain at times, but I'm very good friends with his sister as well and members of his family. I was there years ago and he fought Mirko Krokop in Los Angeles in Glory Kickboxing. No, he's an incredible guy. I'm so glad he's around the sport. I thought he won as well. I thought his tactics, he made Andy Ruiz fight his fight. I thought he won by 2 or 3 rounds. Yes, it was close and there were lots of exchanges. I see Iffy SD is here. No Iffies today, please. I just thought it's very unlucky not to win. But I think the one thing you can say is both guys put on a good enough show that they'll both get really good fights after this. I think Ruiz showed he's got plenty left. And Miller showed improvements and probably didn't regret the fact he dropped 45 pounds in weight in that heat.
Yeah. I'm going to glaze over. In fact, I won't bother touching on that. Let me go to some of the questions in the chat because there are some good ones in here. DTD is, I don't know what input Gareth will have on this, but I guess you can ask his opinion. Has Gareth asked why the ringside prices for the Wembley card were starting from £5,000? And he puts a comparison, and we can have inflation here. Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno ringside Wembley tickets cost $150 in 1988, obviously cancelled due to injury. Inflation's going to be a massive one there. But back to the main question, what do you think about those ringside prices, Gareth?
Right, I'm just going to check.
Gareth's doing his homework there. And then I'll leave this one on the screen. While you come up with something for that. Guys, if you've just joined us, I'm Abz of October Red, and I'm joined by Gareth A. Davies. We're catching up on the LA card, the first American Riyadh season card. We've just brushed through the fights, and now we're kind of like touching on a bit of the political side, of the financial side of boxing. So what do you think? What do you think of those prices? And I've left the next question on the screen.
Obviously, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's £100 in 1980. It's 336 in 2024. So they are hugely inflated. It's very, very expensive. But I think people will pay for it. I think some people will pay that for ringside. It's a I was there moment. It's an amazing card. Listen, I can remember when Ricky Hatton fought Floyd Mayweather, someone offered me 15 grand outside the arena for my press pass that night, just before I was going into it. I'd never do it, of course. I wouldn't do it anyway, and you'd never work again if you did that. It can be very, very expensive ringside. And in answer to Grant Lomas, I think we touched on this just now. I'd always been an advocate of Canelo against Crawford, but I just think going up 6 weight divisions from lightweight might be a step too far. And I think His Excellency saw that on Saturday night. I certainly wrote a column about it yesterday. I think I sent it to you, Abz. I don't know if you should have read it. I hope you probably haven't. Probably too busy.
Well, I haven't, no, but I have got it. Yeah.
But I'd said in there that I was like,
I can lie and say yes, of course, Gareth, I read it, and then you can question me on it, and I'll sit here looking like a prick.
No. I just made the point that I wanted that fight, but after seeing what happened on Saturday night, I'm umming and ahhing about it, and I imagine His Excellency and his boxing advisors have thought the same thing, that it's probably a step too far. I think when fighters go up several weight divisions, say two, and then we know that expression about weight. There's weight divisions for a reason. I think if you step 2 or 3 weight divisions or 4 above your natural weight, it's different fighting someone who just happens to be a world champion at that weight, or a matchup that works, as opposed to fighting the number one pound for pound in the world, or the number 3 pound for pound, fighting an elite fighter. And they've thought that it's not worth it. And I don't blame them for that after what we saw on Saturday night, because Madrimov at light middleweight, not middleweight or super middleweight, was physically a big match and an easy match physically for Terence Crawford. And he really had to work physically very hard against Madrimov, who's not the biggest man.
Yeah, it definitely stood out there. Gareth, what do you think about this one? You Love Boxing's put interesting tweet from His Excellency earlier. Looks like he's running boxing for the foreseeable.
I think he put a tweet out earlier talking about how he's going to invest in America more after that event. It was, as I said to you, riveting success. He wants to get involved with Shakur and Boots Ennis and all these other boxers. So we can expect some very big fights. That's why I say wouldn't surprise me to see Crawford against Boots Ennis very soon as well.
How do you find that fight going? What do you think of that fight?
I think Crawford wins that handily. Anyone around his weight class, I think he beats very handily. He's such a master of control, patience, distance, finding ways in. Listen, Madrimov was so much better than anyone gave him credit for. Not everyone was not giving him the full credit he deserved, but I thought Crawford would outbox him, and I thought he'd win handily. But Madrimov showed fantastic skills, and we will see how good he is in the coming years, in my view. He's only had, 11 pro fights?
Yeah, that was his 11th, yeah.
Yeah, but an incredible amateur pedigree and a really, really high Q as a boxer. Incredible physique. Thought he carried himself all week. Love him to learn English a bit better. It always helps. But it was, you can't take anything away from what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think DTD's put something here, and I will comment on this as well. The timing of the event was bizarre. Obviously, it's overseas. I was happy with Anderson's display of heart after downplaying his love for the sport. Yeah, I agree with that. Terrible matchmaking by his team, but a great learning curve. Good comment, DTD.
Listen, I thought he got demolished in there by Bacoli. They can say bad matchmaking, but it was also his opportunity to step up and show that he's got it at in a top 10 way in the division, and this was his opportunity to show that he should be in big fights with the top 6, 7, like we've mentioned. He could fight anyone, Bacoli, now in that top 6, 7, and he may well get a world title fight in the next 10 to 12 months. That's definitely viable, and he deserves it. But Bacoli did what he needed to do, look like a big, giant, modern George Foreman. If Anderson had moved quickly and moved around him and done the same, stopped him in 6, 7 rounds, we'd be saying the same thing about Jared Anderson today. And now he's got to go back and rebuild, go back to the drawing boards like Daniel Dubois did, and come back. He's still a young fighter.
24 years old.
Exactly.
Which is kind of like echoes this. Jared's still young, and this could make him or break him. And it sounds like His Excellency still wants him to fight on his cards. So yeah, that makes perfect sense as well.
The problem is, Abz, that what America needed was a pivotal name in the heavyweight division to draw attention to the heavyweight division in America. You know, Deontay Wilder doesn't look like he's going to be coming back in any big way soon.
No.
And he looks to have had his best days. And I think what America has, I think most of the big heavyweights or people who'd be heavyweight boxers are going to American football and basketball. I think that's been happening for a long time. I think they've lost a lot of their great athletes.
Yeah, they are. James Burrell says, Abz, can we get a person-esque critique of Gag's club? Never. One thing I do like about Gareth, one of the many things, is that he dresses the way he dresses. He has his own style. He's unique. He doesn't follow fashion. He does his own thing. So, sorry. The only thing I might take the mick out.
You probably should say I'm still dressed a little bit LA today. I look like I've been down on the beach.
Yeah. And to be fair about the broken hands, if he's just put in there, we didn't know that it was broken into his shoulders. One of the things that I said during my live, Gareth, is that I really wouldn't mind seeing Bacoli versus Zhang. But then obviously tweets started coming out, and that seemed to be a common name, the common denominating name associated now with Bacoli. What are your thoughts on that? Because we know the cards, fair enough, they're not announced yet, but they're not, you know, we've got October that's not fully announced, and then potentially, you know, the Usyk Fury rematch. Is that a potential fight that we could see on the up and coming cards?
Definitely. I think October the 12th, I think
No.
I think Bacoli be ready to fight again. I mean, it's not a long wait, but it's just about the right amount of time. I think December's probably too long a wait. Yeah, I mean, Bacoli, Zhang, Bacoli, Parker.
Yeah, Parker. Yeah.
All the other ones taken up. It'd have to be Bacoli, Zhang, or Bacoli, Parker. Both great prospects, and you got to say that they're all both of those fights rather are 50-50s. You cannot write Bacoli off in any big heavyweight fight anymore.
You can't, but I don't know why. And I love Park. He's an incredible boxer, but I don't know why. But the Zhang one just appeals to me more. I don't know if it's because they're both sizable giants. You look at the two of them in the ring. Maybe it's more like an Asiatic thing rather than an actual boxing match I'm looking at. Sometimes you get carried away with the physicalities of how these fighters would look standing up against each other. What do you think?
Well, exactly that. I mean, we were talking about it on Saturday night. As soon as Bacoli versus Big Bang, it's got a ring to it, doesn't it? You know, it was echoing around the media ranks that Big Bang Zhang against Bacoli. I mean, I want to swear almost. I'm excited by it. It's a fucking amazing event. You know?
Yeah, I think it will be. We've got to move forward because I'm mindful of the time. I've got 10 minutes left of your time. We've got a little bit of a lull until the 21st when we have another major event. And I get it. I'm sitting at home. So I'm in LA. Obviously, it's crazy hours for us anyway. So I'm going to be extremely tired watching the boxing all through the night. The performances, you know, the delays between the fights. I get it. You might say, oh, it's just nitpicking. But what is it like when you're there and you're sat there? Because remember, I'm at home. So maybe my impatience might be more. If I was there, I would have been entertained by it all and starstruck. So I wouldn't have felt these moments of slight boredom and then having like a mini concert before the main event. I was like, oh, please just get on with it. But what is it like when you're there? Because I'm mindful I would have had a different opinion if I was there.
Well, there's a lot of catching up, obviously, and interviewing between the bouts. I think the only time it really, if I'm honest, Abz, the only time it really felt like it dragged when there were those presentations in the ring before the main event, before Eminem, where the Nevada Hall of Fame had a presentation. There was the winner of the car. There was the winner of the what seat. So that kind of delayed it. I think it was scheduled. The main event was scheduled for about 8:30, but I think it ended up happening an hour later in the end, quarter to 10. Yeah. It would have been 6 a.m. by the time the anthems were done in the UK, you know. And because I remember thinking when we got out of there in the end at the arena, and it was midnight, and we were thinking, oh, we'd be gone by 10. It was midnight. It was 8 a.m. already in the UK. And so I think it would also have been 11 in the morning or 10 in the morning in Riyadh where people would have been watching it. So
fair enough.
I do think the timing and staging of the events could be speeded up a little bit. In the arena, you don't feel it, but definitely felt it when we were waiting for Eminem that it needed to get hurry up. That there was almost too much. You know,
DTD's put White versus Parker on the Wembley card. Gareth, what are your thoughts on that? I don't think anyone knows what's happening with Dillian, but
he's been a bit more visible on social media in the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? And he was at Joyce Chisora. He was there at that. He was calling them donkeys or something, wasn't he? But then before the event, but very respectful to them after a terrific fight afterwards. He was calling out a Derek Chisora fight. I see that he's also Who was it? Hughie Fury's calling out a Chisora fight in Manchester as well. White versus Parker on
The Wembley card.
If they get the extension for time, it wouldn't surprise me. But I think it's more likely that we'll see Parker on the October 12th card in Riyadh on the undercard of Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol for all the 175 marbles.
Yeah. Martin's, it's confession time. Good morning, Martin. Martin Haller says, I take back everything I ever said about Billy Nelson. But you know what, Martin? This is boxing and opinions are allowed to change. Sometimes we say things and we may get it wrong, maybe because of misinformation. We don't know the full facts, or maybe we just haven't studied that person enough. It's okay. You're in a safe space here, Martin.
What did you say about Billy Nelson, by the way?
Martin, it's up to you. Comment, please, and I'll throw it up on here. Bakoli Zhang, Notorious Ghost says, Bakoli Zhang is nice, but can't see Zhang wanting it. Bakoli looked lean and in good shape.
Yeah, good lean 20 stone, yeah.
We say Martin's back there, but he hasn't said anything. Bakoli nickname needs to be Martin King Kong Bakoli. Bless him.
He's Congolese. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, King Kong. Fair. Bakoli, same size as Zhang. He won't want the fight. He prefers a size advantage over his opponents. What do you think of that, Gareth? Because I'm going to ask Sean George, because I'm going to try and get Sean George, Zilly Zhang's coach, trainer, on one of these lives.
Who prefers a size advantage, Zhang or?
I'm making the assumption he's saying Zhang, because obviously Bakoli's just been in with someone shorter. But let me know if I'm wrong.
I don't know. I think these two will fight if the money's right. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. James has just put in the chat, he thinks that Parker beats White this time.
No, I agree with that.
And somebody else says, saw rumours about Parker versus Ajit Kabayel.
Yeah, I could see that fight as well. Ajit deserves that fight. Him and Joseph Parker is a fantastic heavyweight fight.
Right. Martin's come back. He said, I just didn't believe the hype, Gareth. Sparring is sparring. So I just didn't believe the hype. Yeah,
I think I've known Billy a long time, and he's not bullshit, Billy. I'll tell you that. And I was delighted.
Not Billy the bullshitter then.
No, I was delighted for him on Saturday night.
Yeah, fair play.
You could see how much it meant to him with the emotion he was feeling in the post-fight interview as well.
Yeah, bless him. Anything else that's coming out of the boxing that we need to know about? Anything? I know you can't leak anything out, but...
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I spoke to Shaka Stevenson very quickly. Just me and him chatting. I went over to him. I lent in his ear. I said, listen, have that Gervonta fight now, please. Don't wait. And then obviously he and Lomachenko were going at it ringside, which was interesting.
That about?
I don't know what they were banging at each other about, but they're rivals, aren't they? But I did say to Shaka, and this is what my firm belief is, go for the Gervonta fight now. Forget about William Zepeda. Have 3 fights with Gervonta and prove everyone wrong, all your doubters wrong, who complain about your style and that you don't go up in the gears during the fight, you don't stop people. Because I could see a trilogy fight between Gervonta, a trilogy of fights between Gervonta and Shakur being absolutely spectacular. Yes, Shakur might lose the first fight, but I can imagine him winning the second fight and then them having a third. I'd love to see them have 3 fights.
And the final one here before we close off. What has happened with Jermaine Franklin? Do you think he might be back in the mix anytime soon?
Yes, I do. I haven't been following him very closely, but I'm sure he will be. He's certainly got something about him. What's happening on Anthony Yard? Do you know what? That is a really confusing situation. And it's a conversation I have with people all the time. At the moment, that remains between his management and his promoter, Frank Warren. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I just hope it's not going to end up in court.
Yeah. Shakur needs to understand that casuals pay the pay-per-view. He needs to keep arguing with them online. You know, I'm not a fan of that, but I get what you're saying. Commercial value and all that.
Yeah, don't disagree. I do not disagree.
I don't need to be careful about what I say about anybody. because it's not personal. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. Like I said, opinions can change. If everyone wants to keep on getting their feelings about stuff, then that's down to them.
Something's gone wrong in the way they've scheduled this, because really, I mean, he should have been fighting Anthony Yard on that September card, in my view.
It would have been nice.
Joshua Boazzi, I mean.
Boazzi, yeah, definitely. Listen, Gareth, is there anything more from you before I close off? I'm mindful of the time. I know you're an extremely busy man. I went to Talk Sport the other day. I absolutely had a great fun there.
You enjoy it?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But is there anything else you want to say before we close off until the next time?
Well, only that you'll have to knock me off my seat to get my role there.
Why would I want your role?
Well, I'm just playing. I mean, I'm joking.
I'd like my own role. Isn't there enough food for us all to eat, Gareth?
Well, there's only 2 fight shows a week on there.
Is there?
And I suppose there's the hour on Jordan and White. But yeah, I suppose so. But you know, you've got
Listen, guys,
here it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. You've been absolutely amazing as per usual. I do like these impromptus with Gareth. Please support him. He's on Instagram. You know, he's on X, formerly known as Twitter. Gareth is a lovely person in boxing, somebody that I do genuinely get on with. Let's show that support to him as well. Yeah, until the next time, you know what we say.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.